The Muppets might just be saved again. Rumor has it that the show from Hollywood Studios might be making a move instead of losing all of those wonderful characters like Kermit, Gonzo, Sweetums, and Bean and going on over to the Sunset Strip near Tower of Terror. Today, we'll tell you whether or not you should believe in the idea that a rainbow connection just might be happening near Rock and Roller Coaster. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we continue to scoop, and more when it comes to the entertainment industry as well as the theme parks. As we get ready to dive in, consider clicking the like button. And we've got a very interesting story today, keeping it green. That could be the meaning of some moves happening at Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World. Have the Muppets actually been saved? And was it because of the fans like you and me? Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. It's out of thatparkplace.com, the website that if you're not yet bookmarked, well, you should be. Marvin Montanaro, who's that, is the author here, and it says exclusive in all caps. That means it's importante. Disney may bring Muppet Vision 3D back in a new location. Folks, this is actually real, and we're going to explain why in just a minute. When I say real, though, let me specify that Disney can change their minds. We're depending on sources talking to us, and so you do need to take this with a little bit of salt. It is rumor at this point. But here's what we've got. An exclusive That Park Place source close to the situation at Disney is sharing word of a potential resurrection for Muppet Vision 3D, but with a twist. According to our insider who spoke in the condition of anonymity, internal discussions are reportedly taking place within Disney about reviving the fan-favorite attraction following its emotional final showing last week at Disney's Hollywood Studios and moving Muppet Vision to a new location. It goes on to give the disclaimer. Our source claims that the closure of Muppet Vision 3D sparked far more emotional guest response than Disney anticipated. Long lines for the final day, crowd overflow to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and packed theaters throughout the weekend reportedly caused some within the company to reevaluate the decision to permanently shutter Jim Henson's final Muppet project. But rather than reopening the original theater, which is now expected to house an as-of-yet unnamed Monsters, Inc. theatrical production, please don't call it the Glob, the alleged plan would see Muppet Vision 3D return in a new location within the park. Now, before we continue on, I just want to say that we have heard now that a derivative of Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor from Magic Kingdom will be going into the Muppets Theater. That only adds to this, because when Marvin put this up, we didn't yet know that it looks really, really likely that they're moving Laugh Floor into Hollywood Studios. If they do that, because Laugh Floor is one of the most unpopular attractions at Disney World, it can't draw a crowd in Magic Kingdom. If they move that to replace Jim Henson, and Jim Henson doesn't find a new place in Hollywood Studios, people are going to be unhappy, because you would be taking what is essentially a Pirates of the Caribbean, a Haunted Mansion. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest attractions. You would be replacing that with one of the absolute worst attractions imaginable. So I'll get the panel in just a second. I want to read what it is that our source is saying. According to our source, one option being floated internally is repurposing the theater that currently houses that new Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After show. Dillons. All those villains. A production recently, we're making that a thing. A production recently introduced to the park. That show, which debuted with high hopes, is reportedly receiving lackluster guest feedback, and there's growing concern within Disney that its presence could undermine future enthusiasm for the upcoming Magic Kingdom Villains Land expansion. So, what that would mean, folks, and we'll just leave it here on this image, is that the Muppets would occupy, they would essentially be a facade for Rock and Roller Coaster, but then they would also have Muppet Vision in the theater where Villains currently is, that was Lightning McQueen, and that entire area then would now become the new Muppets Courtyard. And if this is what Disney decides to do, I'm fully behind it. Now, the reason that our source says that they believe this might be happening, the reason we're willing to cover this, is because allegedly within the last week or so, plans changed for how much of the content from Muppet Vision was going to be saved and boxed up, wrapped up in plastic and put into storage, and the degree to which they are protecting those items seems to have increased. And so that has led to speculation that these are now either being determined to go to museums or that they're going to be reused in the future in an attraction. So we're talking about saving a lot of stuff and way beyond what you would typically expect. I don't want to get people's hopes up, but I do want to say there is now a possibility. And Marvin, part of that possibility comes from the fact that this villains show they're doing is so terrible that it's actually making people less excited for a villain's land. Walk us through that, Marvin.
Yeah, so we've heard Ron had a great report on just how terrible this show is, but that is not the only report I've heard on this, because there has been a lot of negativity surrounding the show. I've not heard one good thing about it. It looks like it's weakening the Disney villains, or Dillons as it's sometimes called, brand. Ahead of a major multi-million-dollar expansion for the Magic Kingdom. And that is not something that they want to do. They want that excitement to be, people have wanted a villains area of Disney World for a very, very long time. And they definitely don't want anything that's going to lessen. This could be, I think, in their minds, maybe a more family-friendly alternative to Dark Universe. And they don't want anything that's going to water that down, and this is watering it down. I mean, most people don't even know this thing is even back there, to be fair. But I mean, if they took this and repurposed it into something that people actually want, it would move people into that back area of Disney's Hollywood Studios in a way that we've never seen people do before. I mean, I know that Lightning McQueen show was there for years, and I know people that never, and these are people that go all the time, locals, that never knew it was there in the first place.
Right. Well, I mean, it wasn't we got a little thunder there. It wasn't very good either, though. I mean, it was okay for, like, if you had 3-year-olds or 5-year-olds. It was okay.
Is that a man?
No.
Because the makeup is not Cruella, it's drag queen.
Well, of course, it's stage makeup, but I see your point.
So.
They have and the reason this gets asked in this context, of course, is because Maleficent in Fantasmic is, because of the restrictions and the strength requirements of that suit, it's usually played by a man.
All right. So Jonas, talk to us about the opportunity Disney has here to make major amends. It's very, very easy for them to take, relatively, to take the items from Muppet Vision and just move them over. I'm told that the theater is essentially the same size, so they've got the pre-show area built into this thing. They could just, it's a brand new attraction. It's extra capacity that they could instantly put into Hollywood Studios with almost no effort. And this would be, look, how would fans react to this, Jonas, do you think?
I think that people would look on this favorably, and I think it would renew interest in the Muppets. It's, the idea of it being in the actual Hollywood part of Hollywood Studios over there in Sunset Boulevard, which seems to be the only place where they're actually interested in that Hollywood theme. There's a little bit of an homage to it with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and the Hyperion Theater right there, but for the most part, they're getting into just IP deposits in the rest of the area. And yes, I know the joke that I just fell into. They're, of course, putting Rock and Roller Coaster right there, and we're not expecting much out of that retheme. And I'll say that maybe we're not expecting that to be a long-term commitment there for Hollywood Studios. I don't think that's going to last forever. And I think if they can put Muppet Vision over there, and they can have, with 2 rides, and maybe, just maybe, they could put together some good Muppets content out there for Disney Plus, or maybe even in theaters, gasp. They could revive the Muppets to the point where they can sell some merchandise, which is really the point of having an IP deposit there in Sunset Boulevard. There's no reason for them to not put this there. Magic Kingdom is going to be getting this Cars attraction, whether we like it or not. So they'll move Lightning McQueen over there. It makes sense to consolidate Muppets into one singular area, especially since it is a electric mayhem roller coaster going over there. I don't know. This is low-hanging fruit for a company that seems to be allergic to spending money. Moving an attraction as opposed to completely destroying it would seem like a no-brainer, especially since no one cares about this villain show.
Well, and look, if they decide to do this, it's not going to be like, oh, you spoke, we listened. It's going to be, well, guys, this was always the plan.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to say that this was always the plan. It's not that we made a mistake.
Villains was always a temporary thing as we get people excited for our new expansion coming, and we know how much you love the Muppets. All right, Ron. If Disney did this, is all forgiven, and have they maybe learned a lesson?
Well, listen, I don't know if all is forgiven, but this has been like the whole time in my head. I'm like, you've got this theater back there that's not doing anything with Lightning McQueen. I never saw it. The Villains show I have seen, and I was repelled by it. I'm like, please don't go to this villain show. It's that when you're
How bad is it, Ron?
It's bad. It's when you're spending. It's the only positive thing I can say about it is a reprieve with air conditioning. That's it. But if it were turned into the Muppet Theater and Muppet Vision 3D returned back to that place, they could open up a new Muppet Courtyard. It makes a lot of thematic sense. It's a good place for it. I think that it would. Buy back some goodwill for the fans. I personally know a lot of the Pixie Dusters / even cast members were super sad to see the Muppet Vision 3D property go. So, I mean, like literally, even I'm not going to say who, but I think you know who. There are definitely Pixie Dusters out there who have been big time complaining about this, and that is a very, very interesting thing because most of the time they're like, "Oh, we're all for this. This is great. Destroy one thing and build another." And I have no problem with a Monstropolis ride back there, but again, you look at the Muppet Courtyard and it's still there in the plans. Like they're not going to do anything with the facades of this. So if they're going to make this whole area Monstropolis, it makes sense to balance it on the other side of the park with the Muppet Courtyard and give people what they love. I've said the whole time, the biggest challenge that Disney has had is they don't know what to do with the Muppets. And it's very difficult because the original creative vision, like Frank Oz, they won't work with Disney on this because they've been so upset about the creative direction that Disney has gone, which is an uncreative direction, and that's the biggest challenge. But Muppet Vision 3D, on the other hand, was a throwback to classic Muppets and the Muppet Show that I grew up with and loved in the 1970s and 80s. And I think they could do so much more with the Muppets, and I would love to see it. That's I would absolutely love to see it.
Let me say this. Let me jump in real quick and say, when it comes to putting Muppets Courtyard over there, where Rock and Roller Coaster is, there is also an opportunity for them to alleviate a major congestion issue, because there is a way to connect the Muppet Courtyard with the backside of Tower of Terror in a way that hides that Tower of Terror was never meant to be seen from that angle, and connect it with where they perform Fantasmic. And that would be a massive win for both getting people into Fantasmic and getting them out at the end of the day. I'd also like to say, Ron, to your point that, Pixie Dusters and Cupcakers and cast members, although we're not saying those two are those three are the same, the idea that they love Muppet Vision as well, I just want to give a big shout out to the folks over at Typhoon Lagoon. On the day that Muppet Vision was closing, I don't know which, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble, okay? So you got to be careful when you say this. I'm just going to say that at the entrance of Typhoon Lagoon, Muppet music was playing. And I thought that was a brilliant touch by whoever did that. I hope that doesn't get anybody in trouble. I don't know if that was, I don't know who said that was A-okay, but it was well appreciated. Go ahead, Marvin.
I was just going to say that, the one thing I hear all the time is, oh, well, kids today don't care about the Muppets. And I'm like, oh, are we going to pretend now that Disney actually cares about marketing to children anymore? I mean, at the end of the day, the Muppets fits right into their nostalgia kick for the dual income, no kids crowd, the elder millennial crowd or the millennial crowd. And, for once, that could actually work in favor of the park instead of working to its detriment, because Muppet Vision is a people eater, and now if you bring it back, people are going to have a renewed enthusiasm for it because it's a don't know what you've got until it's gone type situation.
Yeah, and I just want to say this too. There have been those who have claimed, well, Muppet Vision was not popular because it was only half full. Folks, let me tell you something. Muppet Vision, and they were talking about historically, right? Mm-hmm. Muppet Vision has the capacity for 550 people in the theater, but 550 more in the pre-show, right? Plus the queue, because you got to consider that there's a show. There are two shows always happening at the same time with Muppet Vision, pre-show and show. Now that means over 1,000 people every 17 minutes in capacity. Good luck getting that thing to be, filled. But you need stuff like that, because who wants to go to a park where there's nothing that you can just go, you know what, I'm tired of waiting lines. I'm going to go watch Muppet Vision. It's the same idea as PhilharMagic. Same concept. It's the same concept as Hall of Presidents. Every 17 minutes, every 20 minutes, you're going to get to go in there. You're going to be air conditioned. You're going to get out of the weather, whether it's stormy or hot, and you get a great, fantastic show. One other thing I'll say, people act surprised or shocked that Disney would do this to Jim Henson, because it's really not that they're getting rid of the Muppets. They're not. They're getting rid of Jim Henson. They love the Disney Muppets. I don't know why. They hate the Jim Henson Muppets. I would just say the people who are shocked that they treated Jim Henson this way, why would you be shocked? They did this already to Frank Oz and to Steve Whitmire. Why would be shocked they do this to Jim Henson? I just don't know. Panel, last words on this one.
Really quickly. Oh, I was just going to say the popularity of the Muppets has not waned. When you go across town to SeaWorld, there is a Sesame Street land over there that is loaded with Muppets, and it is always filled. Adults, children, kids, the parade. There's a whole Muppet parade over there with the Sesame Street characters. They're all the Muppets. They have Big Bird and Elmo and Oscar the Grouch, and they are very, very beloved by everybody, whether it's the Sesame Street side Muppets or the Muppet Show Muppets. That property can exist forever. It really can exist in perpetuity.
And
Marvin?
I don't buy this for a minute, and I'll tell you why.
Tell us why, Lou.
It's not just the show, it's the theater. They would have to commit to spending some serious money to put back all of those effects of the water spurting and the cannons it's a big deal to rework that theater. And anything they do less than the original is going to be compared unfavorably by people who love and saw the original. But
Lou, now I'm going to speak from a logical standpoint, not a Disney standpoint. What is it worth? How much money would you be willing to spend to get this off the screen?
Well, I mean, and they did a lot. They sunk a lot of money into this. They sunk a lot of money. That's what I'm trying to say. Theater. Yeah.
Somebody decided this was good. Somebody decided this was worth the money. And that same somebody would have to decide, well, no, it's not. We're going to put in this thing we just yanked out.
Well, I think I'll say this. We can't definitively say, because it's not happened yet, we can't definitively say what will replace the Villains Show. But I think the Villains Show is going to go pretty quick. I think this is harmonious levels of bad. For those of you who pay attention to the parks, you'll know what that's about. Oh. I give this a lifespan. I mean, if it lasts more than 2 years, then they're just masochists at the Magic Kingdom. I know we're talking about Hollywood Studios. I had to make the alliteration. All right. Well, anybody else before we wrap this thing?
I mean, look, what you said about them hating the Jim Henson Muppets, it's 100% accurate. Nothing annoys them more than when the only thing that annoys them more than when somebody talks about what Walt would have done is when someone talks about what Jim Henson would have done. Steve Whitmire was fired simply because there was a storyline that was put forward in which for that ABC mockumentary Office style show where Kermit lied to Robin, and he was like, Kermit would never lie to Robin. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back for him to be fired from Disney. So there is a, they definitely, I think that they underestimated the love that people have for the original Henson Muppets because they are applying that logic to the way people respond to the Disney Muppets, because Muppets Now didn't do very well, because Muppets Most Wanted failed. The Muppets, the Jason Segel movie, succeeded because it relied on that nostalgia for Jim Henson. If they just lean into that, I think this could be a cornerstone of Hollywood Studios going forward. And you could even actually create the Muppet Studios area that was always meant to exist within this park by putting, like, you can have like the archway over by as you go into Rock and Roller Coaster and have it say Muppet Studios on it. So there's a lot that you can do with it. I hope that they do the right thing for once.
And let's mention one thing about the power of the original Muppets. If it is because generations grew up with this, whether it was Sesame Street or the Muppet Show or all the things we've loved, what about the analogy of Bluey? Do you think that kids like my grandson who grew up on Bluey are going to have the same belovedness for it 20, 30, 40 years down the road? I don't think so. There's something special here that transcends almost every other IP that was intended, or not intended, but will be discovered to have that kind of generational follow through, if you see what I mean.
I'll say that I think Bluey is phenomenally special, way more special than a lot of properties out there. But the difference is Bluey has been around, 5 years?
Yep. Yeah.
And
2020.
For it to reach the kind of what would you say? For it to reach the kind of sentimentality that we have for the Muppets, it needs to have 20 to 30 years under its belt of being awesome, because that's what the Muppets had before they were destroyed by Disney. So we'll pay close attention to this, folks. We never knew that not going to see Muppets Most Wanted meant Disney would actually give us Constantine as the Kermit replacement forever. That's where we are. We'll keep an eye on Hollywood Studios and let you know what's going on. Is the Muppet stuff going to a new location? Or, like Indy says, does it belong in a museum? Disney will decide. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We are done for now, but don't worry. Do not fret. Not yet, for more content is still coming your way 4 times a day right here on the Pro Channel. What a joy it has been to share our time with you. We hope you feel the same. Adding value to your every single day is our job here, and we take it very seriously. Folks, the only thing we ask in return is that you consider clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it. Stick it to those algorithms. It's the notification bell. And drop a comment right on down below. And folks, if you'd like to subscribe to our partner YouTube channels, That Park Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and some of those radio stations like Vacation Radio, well, we certainly would appreciate it. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time and being invited into your day, folks, we go on our way saying this: keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.